Big LEZ'S League, an all rugby league experience. Hello, welcome back to Big LEZ'S League, an all rugby league experience. The day's finally here. Obviously, Supercoach opened a little bit earlier in the week, and we had a little bit of a think about how we wanted to build our side. We did already build a team in the early version of Supercoach Plus. You can obviously get that for quite cheap. You get that along with a subscription to the Daily Telegraph. We used that. We sort of wanted to get an idea of the prices and things like that heading into this year. Thought it'd also be a little bit of great content for you guys as well to get a little bit of an early look at the prices and what I'm sort of thinking with my team. Now you're getting a bit of an update, obviously, with Supercoach out for everyone now, and listening to different people, really digging in and doing some research in and around Supercoach. I've put together my side going into round one. Now this side could change, and we'll obviously talk about that on the drawing board, but consider this the first episode of the drawing board for 2025. Let's get straight into it. Let's go through our side and just sort of go through position by position and why I've picked each player. We're going to start off with the flex position, the most talked about position going into Supercoach for 2025. The new kid on the block, the flex position. I'm aware that they do this in other sports for Supercoach. Introduction into rugby league. It's been something that's been sought after by a lot of Supercoach fans. But the question is, who do you pick? Who do you go for? What tactics do you go for with the flex position? Now, the favourite seems to be the fullback position. Get 3 fullbacks in your team, 3 guys, 3 hard workers that you know are going to get big stats, and potentially 1 cheapie in there as well. So you get 2 fullbacks with a cheapie fullback in there as well, which is what a lot of people have done. It's what I've done as well. So starting in the flex position, I've gone a little bit on the bandwagon side of things here and gone for Isaiah Yonge. He's only got a 23 break even. Predicted score for round 1 is 47, which I think he could top that, especially with how fast Parramatta is going to be moving as well. Really fast moving side. I think that he is going to be really dangerous. 23 break even with a 47 predicted score, which I think that he could score over that. I think that it is a really, really nice pick up there, Isaiah Yonge, and pretty cheap as well, I believe. Isaiah Yonge, only 232k for a new guy that you know is going to be starting. I think it is the smartest way to go. Now, I did just want to explain something to a lot of people that are new to Supercoach as well. You hear the word break-even quite a bit in Supercoach. Just to explain what that actually means to the punters out there as well, because I know that when I started playing Supercoach a few years ago, I had fucking no idea what a break-even was. A break-even is the top score that a player can get for their price to go up. So, for example, if a player's break-even, for example here with Isaiah Yonge, the break-even for Isaiah Yonge is 23. If he scores 47, like the predicted scoreline is for him here, and he does that over a number of weeks, his price will go up. If he scores below 23, which is the break-even there, if he scores 20 or 19, anything below 23, his price will go down. So that's how the break-even works. The break-even is a middle score. If you score over it, your price goes up. If you score below it, your price goes down. So just explaining that to people that actually might not be aware of what a break-even is, guys that haven't played Supercoach before and it's their first year coming in, that's what a break-even is. All of those guys that have Supercoach Plus, they'll be able to see each player's break-even as well, and it's a really good indicator of who to go for, who not to go for. You look at averages from previous seasons. Can they get to that break-even, et cetera, et cetera. Good players have high break-evens. Cheap players have low break-evens. It's generally how it works in Supercoach. So I'm going with Isaiah Yonge. As I said, 23 break-even, 47 predicted score round 1, 232k. It just screams go for it. I think that you've really got to play hard for Isaiah Yonge. And I think if there's anyone that's sort of a must pick in Supercoach, I think there's 2 cheapies that are must picks. One of those is Isaiah Yonge. One of them is also in my team, which we'll talk about a little bit later. All right, fullbacks. Let's go into the fullbacks here. My captain, my skipper, the first guy that I've got in here for fullback is Tom Trbojevic. I think that 86 break even. He's got a 77 scoreline, but I think that he'll score well above that at fullback. I think the thing that you need to consider as well with Tom Trbojevic, there's been a lot of word that he could jump into the centres. If that move does happen, I think it could really either real positively or real negatively affect your Supercoach scores in the sense that you'd think at centre, his work rate's going to be a lot higher. He's going to be making a lot more tackles in defence as well. If he does play that roaming sort of centre role we saw in the Pacific Championships, he could be a real, smoky, to have a much higher scoreline than what's predicted here. I think that he could really, really excel, getting plenty of time with footy in hand as well, playing that roaming sort of role, mentoring a guy like Leha Hapawade, and it unlocks Leha Hapawade too for first grade as well. Obviously you'd think that he may be a shot for the wing. Otherwise, it's going to be New South Wales Cup. If Tom Trbojevic does go to centre and they make way for Leha Hapawade to play fullback, you've got another cheapie there that you can hop into the flex. I'll put into the flex, I should say. You'd think that Lehi would be dual position. Let me just have a quick look. Leha Hapawade. Yeah, so he is dual position going into this year. 589k, to be honest. That's a bit much for Leha Hapawade. I'd probably wait for the price to drop with him most likely starting the season in Cup. It would unlock, obviously, that option there to have Leha Hapawade as a flex position as well if you wanted to, or your backup fullback if you wanted to save money for other positions. But talking specifically Tom Trbojevic, whether it's fullback or centre, I think that he is in for a big year. I think if they can keep him on the park for a long time, Manly is the type of side for me that could be a top 4 team in 2025. I really do think that if Tom Trbojevic is on the field for the full time, DCE, a lot of people are sort of saying, that he is coming towards the back end of his career. He's 36 years old playing the footy that he is at the moment. I think that he's got something to prove. I think that Brooksy's second year with that Manly combination there, I think that Manly are going to be all the better for it and all the better for that finals run that they just recently had too. I think that Manly are definitely a team to watch in 2025, and Tom Trbojevic is going to be a key part of their success. So definitely someone that I'm banking on to have in my Supercoach side this year. Latrell Mitchell is my backup fullback. I'm not going anywhere near KP. I think that KP is a little bit of a liability for Supercoach. I think that with the culture at the moment around Newcastle and, you're losing 2 key front rowers in that side in Dan Saifidi for this year and then Leo Thompson for next year. You can already see the impact that's had on some of the boys in that club as well. KP, for me, his future is up in the air at Newcastle as well. If they don't make the 8 this year, or if they, do make the 8 but struggle, drop out in the opening rounds, I think that KP will consider a move to another club, most likely the Sydney Roosters, as they've been talking about a little bit on Bloke. So that whole dynamic's going to be interesting. You don't know who your halves are going to be yet at Newcastle. I think they are favourites for the spoon. I think that the Newcastle Knights are in for a tough year. If that positively or negatively affects KP's Supercoach, I'm not willing to find out straight away, to be honest. So I've gone Latrell Mitchell. I think the Bunnies, opposite thing for me. I think they're in for a bounce back. I think that Latrell Mitchell's going to be a key part of that as well if he can stay on the field for all 27 rounds. I think that's going to be a massive, massive thing for Supercoach. So I am banking on Latrell to have a big season. He's got an 85 break even with 102 predicted scoreline for round 1. He could even be my captain going into round 1 as well for Supercoach. I am really excited to see how Latrell goes this year. Let's move into the outside backs, the winger centers. I think the play that a lot of you guys need to go for, I wouldn't be banking up on my outside backs. The positions I'd be banking up on this year would be fullback, in the halves, at least your starting halves. I'd probably be going hard in the paint in your middles, and that's probably it. I think that with the flex position coming in, you're paying money for an extra position with, I think, the same cap. So I think that it isn't worth it really going in hard in the paint for all the positions, because you're just not going to have money to build your side and or to, get good players, in and around your team as well that are quite cheap. I just think that it isn't worth it going full gun-ho and then having to get super-duper cheapies in other positions. I think if you even it out and play the right way, like I sort of have here, not to, blow my own horn, straight away or too early. But I do think that you have got to be a little bit more strategic and smart about how you build your team, and you can't really go too heavy in positions, particularly when you're having to pay 200, 300 or however much extra you have to pay for your flex position for an extra position there. I just don't think it's worth it. So I think that winger center is a position you need to go light on. I guess the tactic that I've got here for that is to get one really good outside back and then just go gun-ho on relatively cheap players, sitting around the 300, 400K mark at most. So for wing centers, my gun-ho guy, my expensive outside back is Zach Lomax. He's got a 76 break-even, 71 scoreline. You might lose money in the first round there, but I think moving forward, playing at right center next to Mitch Moses, I think that he is really going to excel, setting up tries for his outside man, which you'd think would be either Addo Carr or Sean Russell, in my opinion. I think that Lomax is in for a huge year at Parramatta. I think he's going to prove how good he can be at centre, getting, I'd say a little bit more of his hands on the ball there at centre. We'll have to wait and see how he goes and how they play him, if he has a little bit of a roaming license there, Lomax. But super excited to see how he goes. I think that he will be a big scorer in Supercoach. I think he has to be a guy that a lot of people pounce on. And, if it doesn't work early, he is around the 771K mark. He is a guy that you can sort of move around and get a Jacob Kiraz or get someone else. I had Kiraz a little bit earlier on when we were doing the price reaction. But I think Lomax is in for a huge year, and especially if he's sitting at right centre next to Mitch Moses. I think that it is a perfect buy for Supercoach. My other guy, so relatively cheap. I think that people that a lot of people are going to go for, players that a lot of people are going to go for in regards to cheapies for your outside backs. Starting, I've got Billy Smith and Robert Derby. I've got a little bit of a, more expensive guy in Jack Howarth. I think that he will be the starting centre for the Melbourne Storm going into the start of the year. 49 predicted score, 42 break even. I think that you're getting value out of Jack Howarth and plenty of trade value if you do need to get rid of him later in the opening rounds. I think that Jack Howarth is definitely a guy that people should consider there at, how much is he? He is 426K. I think he's definitely someone you got to go and jump at. So Jack Howarth, Billy Smith, Robert Derby, Zach Lomax. They're my outside backs. My backups, again, going for someone that is a little bit more expensive at the 379K mark compared to some of the other cheapies here. I've gone with Jack Bird. I think that it's a really, really interesting pick. It's something that not many people are going to be going for as well. He is dual position, second row forward center, winger position. He is sitting at 379K, 37 break even there, 31 predicted scoreline for round one. I think that he will score higher than that. I think he'll play close to 80 minutes there at the Tigers in that 13 jersey, just facilitating, playing like a second 5'8" sort of thing, really good ball playing. They were sort of going down that route with Isaiah Papali'i before he left to go to the Panthers. So I think Jack Bird, he takes over that role there at 13. I think that he's really good at it as well with his experience in the outside backs and in the halves. And just a guy that can cover a ton of positions if there is injury as well. I think he does start. I think he is the 13. I think you're getting good value and potentially some good scores out of Jack Bird as well going into the opening rounds. I don't think the 31 predicted score that it says here is going to really cut it. I think he will score around 40 to 45, maybe even 50. And for a backup guy, I am happy to take that for a Jack Bird. I've got two cheapies here, Robert Toyer and Hazen Mellors. Definitely a guy that you'll need to watch, Hazen Mellors. Outside back that no one's talking about for the South Sydney Rabbitohs, training very hard and well at South Sydney, a guy that Wayne Bennett is really keeping an eye on, and someone that you probably will see make a debut towards the back end of the year for South Sydney, Hazen Mellors. You just got to go ahead and grab these cheapies when they're available too. I think that, obviously when you're trying to fit a bunch of other guys into your side, $198K for both Hayes Millers and Robert Toya. You got to go for it. Robert Toya is an interesting one because he could be the starting centre for the Roosters. Him and Mark Nawaqanitawase will be fighting it out for that spot. Now, Mark Nawaqanitawase was my previous flex, but at $430K, he was just a little bit too expensive. When I'm trying to build the rest of my team and get stars in this outfit. So I've gone for just having Robert Toya in there instead. And even if he doesn't play, I'm banking on the fact that Derby, Billy Smith, Howarth, Lomax, they'll all be starting anyway. And then you've obviously got Jack Bird, who will be starting. Sitting there on the bench, you've got Hayes Millers, Robert Toya, two guys that can back up. So I've got the guy that can cover in the bye anyway. I'm not too stressed about the other two backups. Let's move into the halves. And probably one of the more interesting discussion points. Obviously, we've got to go like Nathan Cleary, who's coming off surgery. Be interesting to see how he goes. $811K, I think it's a great price for Nathan Cleary. It's a lot cheaper than what Nathan Cleary has been in the past. He's been $1 million man. He's been a $900K man. Sitting at $811K, not too much more expensive than a Zach Lomax, to be honest. So I think that with the price of Nathan Cleary, the 85 predicted scoreline for round one with a 79 break even, I really do like Nathan Cleary. I think that he will definitely be a guy to keep an eye on. And I think that, he's going to be really taking charge and getting a lot more of the ball, roaming both sides of the ruck as well, with Blaise Talungi being a little bit more of a runner and working on his defense. I think that Cleary will definitely be a guy to pounce on. He'll be doing a majority of the work. I think that without Luai in this side, Cleary will be pretty much taking all the shit work too. So Cleary, for me, with the amount of work I can see him getting through in a game, I think he'll definitely be around that 85 average for 2025. My backup 7, I think you have to have this guy, or at least consider this guy for your team. I think that, there has been criticism of Clifford. Obviously, he has come in and, at stages for Newcastle and, at stages for the Cowboys in previous years, and we've gone, fuck, he's about to explode. He's about to take that 7 position. And then the form drops. At the starting first game or so for Newcastle, he played okay. And then the form dropped a bit. Goes to the Super League, develops his game, works on his game. And then the back end of 2024, he was outstanding. So I think that I'm going to take the punt on Jake Clifford and just, I think that he will keep a level of consistency in 2025. I'm banking on it, especially 52 break-even, 57 scoreline. I think it's worth it. If he gets that 57 or above score, I think that he will, obviously, his price will go up. And even if he does drop off in form, you could trade him for someone else and get someone else that is at a higher price. So Clifford, for me, I think is a lock for me in my side. I think that you've definitely got to consider this guy in your 17. Jay Clifford for me is a lock. I've got Cody Walker as my 5'8". 55 break even with a 66 scoreline. I think that, under Wayne Bennett last time, it's been the top discussion point for 5'8". Cody Walker was exceptional under the previous coaching reign of Wayne Bennett. I think that, with the break-even and the predicted scoreline for round one, I think that Cody Walker's in for a huge year. Him and Latrell are going to be unstoppable, I believe, in 2025. I think that they are going to go on a bit of a run. And obviously, dual position there for Cody Walker this year as well. Halfback 5'8". I think that it is definitely enticing, there for Cody Walker as well, with the price that you're getting for a Cody Walker at $559K. And then that obviously gives you a little bit of cash to spend in the backup number 6. And for me, I'm taking a risk again here. So I've taken the risk on Clifford. I'm taking a risk on another guy. It's Luke Metcalf. Currently sitting at $443K on the dot. He has got a break even of 43, 54 predicted scoreline for round one. I think he'll be the halfback. I honestly think by the end of the year, he will be the halfback for this team. So definitely one to consider there, Lukey Metcalf. I think that he will be in real strong form. I think he will be very similar to the early days of Sean Johnson, a real good running, half with some great footwork. His ball skills, I think, are great as well. It's a really underrated part of Lukey Metcalf's game. He's got a really nice short kicking game as well. I think that Luke Metcalf will definitely be, one of the top front runners for the number 7 jersey. at the New Zealand Warriors. You'll probably then get him for a dual position as well. I do like Luke Metcalf, especially with the break-even to start the year. I think it is worth it to take the risk on both Clifford and Metcalf as your backups, and they'll be both playing in the purple jersey as well for me for round one. So halves is Cleary with the backup of Clifford, 5'8", Cody Walker with the backup of Luke Metcalf. Let's go into the second row forwards. I have got here Angus Crichton, 74 break-even, 96 predicted scoreline for round one. 758k, definitely one of the more expensive guys in my team, but fuck, his price could just go up $1 million. And, you know, you got to look at last year as well. He didn't start the year last year. Last year, he started in New South Wales Cup. So if Angus Crichton can play the full season exactly how he played in 2024, we're in for a huge year Supercoach-wise with Angus Crichton. I think that he's definitely a guy that you've got to consider. Himself or Dave Fafita for me would be locks. I've gone with Angus Crichton. You know, if it doesn't work out, which I doubt it won't, I think that, you know, Dave Fafita will probably be the next option, but I'm definitely going to be starting the year here with Angus Crichton. And then my backups, I have gone quite mid in regards to expense. 553.1k, I've gone with Nat Butcher. He's got a 54 break-even, 55 scoreline. It's only one above the predicted score for round one. So I think that, you know, I think he will score above that. I think that he'll be the starting right back rower at least to start the year for the Roosters. I don't mind the output I'd get from a Nat Butcher at that price, to be honest. I think that he probably will get a higher score than that, you know, if they give him relatively good ball there on the right edge back row. We did have slumps from Nat Butcher throughout the season, Supercoach-wise, but I really do think that he's in for a big year. Sprint training with Roger Fabry as well. He's one of the faster back rowers in the competition, Nat Butcher. I think that he will definitely be in for a big year, and at that price as well, if he doesn't live up to my expectations, he'll be out straight away. I've got Trent Liero as my other back rower, sitting at 52 for the predicted price. For the predicted scoreline for round one, 512k. He's got a 50 break even. Again, just a guy that's got a little bit of a higher score than his break even for round one. I like Trent Liero. I think that if he can play the full season that we saw from him at the back end of the year for the Melbourne Storm, I think that he will be a huge buy for anyone, to be honest. I think that he'll be in for a big year as well. So Angus Crichton, Nat Butcher, and Trent Liero are my back rowers. I've gone then for my backups. Kulekefu Afina-Fuiaki, real good cheapie. Training footage shows him training at right back row. Does that say much? Not really. But with a 36 break even, I think that he will, if he starts, play 80 minutes. I think that he's definitely a guy to consider there. Kulekefu Afina-Fuiaki. The 35 predicted scoreline for round one for me doesn't really matter for him. I think that he'll score at least 45 to 50 points in round one. Versing the South Sydney Rabbitohs as well. So I really don't mind that matchup for him. Curtis Moran, I think that he'll be in the lineup somewhere. If not, he's just a good guy to have as a backup. He's sitting at 299k. Yes, it is a bit expensive for a backup, but I don't mind it. I think that he will definitely be in the 17. If not, he comes straight out and a cheapie goes in, and then I use that 100k or so cash to spend or upgrade another position. But Curtis Moran's in there at the moment. And then another cheapie here at 232k, who I think will be in the 17 for the Wars. Leka Halasima. Love Leka Halasima. Real gun. Debut against, I believe it was the Bulldogs. Really tore up that right edge. He'll be a guy that definitely puts a little bit of pressure on Jackson Ford, in my opinion, especially if he has an interesting start again. Or not again. He had a great start to the year, but if he does fluctuate in form a little bit, Jackson Ford, Leka Halasima is a guy that will be putting pressure on. He'll be a real good cheapie to pick up, and I think that he's definitely someone that a lot of people need to consider in their 17s. Let's move into the front row forwards. I've got Terrell May. You've got to have Terrell May. If you don't have Terrell May, what are you doing? He's definitely a guy that you've got to consider for round one. 59 break even, 57 scoreline. I think Terrell May will definitely score higher than that. I almost think that Terrell May will probably be playing close to 55 to 60 minutes. depending on obviously the guys they pick on the bench. You know, you've got guys like Fanua Pole who will probably play big minutes as well. But Clemmer, Royce Hunt, these sort of guys, 25 to 30 minutes will probably be the max you see of those guys. I think you'll see like guys like Terrell May, guys like Fanua Pole play closer to 50 minutes in a game. So definitely guys to have in your sides or at least to consider. I don't have Fanua Pole, but he'll definitely be a guy that I think about if he starts or if he plays big minutes off the bench. Nafa'u White's the other guy I've got at the moment. He's currently sitting at 367, K, with a 36 break even, 30 scoreline. Look, I think that he'll be playing big minutes for the Roosters as well. I think it may be starting to. I think that it makes the most sense with Terrell May going to the Tigers. Then the Nafa'u White probably takes that position. I think that he's a lot better of a starter than a Spencer Leniu, who's more suited to those 30-minute stints off the bench. Nafa'u White for me at the 367K price. I think that it is worth it there for him to start the year. Then two cheapies for the front row, two guys that I think will be in the rotation for their respective clubs. For the Roosters, De La Silva for me will definitely be a guy that is in contention for the 17 and regular first grade. And then I've also got Cody Hopwood for the Newcastle Knights, who I think will definitely be thereabouts. Low scores and low break-evens, but I think that both of these guys will be in the 17s for the Roosters throughout the 2025 season, for the Knights and the Roosters, I should say, for the 2025 season. And then the hooker position, we talked about before, obviously, cheapies that you need to have on your side. The first one was Isaiah Yonge. The second one is my backup hooker in Sandon Smith. I think that you've got to have him in there. He is dual position as well, so if you have an injury in the halves, he can slot straight in. I can literally do a straight swap between him and Cody Walker if I need to trade Cody Walker out too. So I like that. I think that he's definitely a guy you've got to consider there with the dual position. At only 232K, was it? 237K there for Sandon Smith. I think it's definitely worth it. Definitely a guy that you need to consider for your Supercoach team. He'll be the starting six for the Roosters all year, so you're definitely going to be seeing some hard work from him. He's got a 23 break-even as well, so if he gets through his work and gets around 40 to 50 points a game, his price will go up and you'll get value out of a guy like Sandon Smith. And then Connor Watson is my starter. Now, Connor Watson, you'd think would be playing close to 80 at hooker for the Sydney Roosters. It is a gamble to go for two Roosters players to start the year. I think it's definitely a tough decision. 583K, though, I can make a change if I need to before round one, if I do change my mind about having two Roosters there. Obviously, with buys and things like that, if the Roosters have a buy, I'm basically screwed. But I think that to start the year, it is probably it's probably a pick that's worth it. And I probably will consider, if Clifford has a rough start to the year or if his injury, keeps him out to start the year, Sandon Smith probably moves to halfback and then I get a hooker from another club, but that's a cheapie to go in there. Probably one of the Parramatta hookers or one of Tom Starling potentially to go in there. But yeah, that will be more of a thought process when we see team lists before game day. At the moment, though, it's Connor Watson, it's Sandon Smith. I think both of those guys will be great. 69 predicted scoreline for Connor Watson with a 57 break-even too. You are getting value there. So that's my 17 there for the Supercoach side for 2025, my Supercoach Classic team. My bench guys will be Sandon Smith, Jake Clifford, Luke Metcalf, Latrell Mitchell for round one. That could obviously change as well with injuries and team lists and things like that. But look, very keen for Supercoach in 2025. That's sort of my thought process for Classic. Let me know what your side looks like. Who's your flex? Is it Isaiah Yonge? Is it someone else? Is one of my picks just absolutely outrageous? Let me know about it in the comments section below. We'll see you guys in the next one.